The gleaming silver spire of the Galactic Council chambers pierced the swirling nebula like a defiant spear. Inside, the air thrummed with the low murmur of 1,000 voices, a symphony of clicks, whistles, and guttural growls. Representatives from 100 different species, each more bizarre than the last, filled the tiered amphitheater. Feathery bipeds with iridescent plumage preened beside stoic, crystalline beings that shimmered with internal light. Slug-like creatures with sensory tendrils slithered past towering insectoids with multifaceted eyes. And amidst this kaleidoscope of alien life, 4 figures stood apart: the human delegation. Ambassador Jian, a veteran of countless Earth conflicts, bore the scars of battle on his weathered face. His eyes, though, held a sharp intelligence that belied his gruff exterior. Dr. Anya Sharma, a xenoanthropologist with a thirst for the unknown, exuded an air of calm curiosity. Her gaze darted around the chamber, taking in every detail of this alien gathering. Beside her, the renowned diplomat, Robert Mac MacArthur, flashed his trademark disarming smile, a practiced weapon in the arsenal of interstellar relations. And finally, there was Elder Kai, a wizened woman from a secluded Himalayan monastery, her presence radiating an aura of serenity that seemed to calm even the most agitated alien delegate. The council president, a being of pure energy that pulsed with a soft blue light, rose from his central dais. "Honored delegates," his voice boomed, resonating through the chamber in 1,000 different languages thanks to the simultaneous translation implants. "We welcome the humans to the Galactic Council. Your arrival marks a momentous occasion, the joining of a species whose history," he paused, his light flickering slightly, "is rich and complex." A ripple of unease passed through the assembled aliens. Whispers, like the rustling of 1,000 wings, filled the chamber. Jian felt the weight of 100,000 eyes upon them, a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. He knew what they were thinking: humans, the warriors of the galaxy, the destroyers, the species whose history was written in blood and conquest. Mac, ever the diplomat, stepped forward. "President," he said, his voice smooth as polished obsidian, "we appreciate your warm welcome. Humanity is eager to contribute to the galactic community. We come in peace." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. Jian saw the doubt in the eyes of many delegates. He knew that their reputation preceded them, but he also knew that humanity had changed. They had learned from their past mistakes. They had embraced peace, hadn't they? A single, piercing gaze locked onto Jian from across the chamber. It belonged to a delegate from the Iridani, a race known for their pacifism and deep-rooted aversion to violence. The Iridani delegate's eyes, large and silver, held a profound distrust, a fear that Jian recognized all too well. It was the fear of a lamb staring into the eyes of a wolf. The first few months passed in a flurry of diplomatic engagements, cultural exchanges, and technological showcases. The humans, to the surprise of many, proved to be adept at navigating the intricate web of galactic politics. Mac, with his charm and wit, disarmed even the most skeptical delegates. Anya, ever the scholar, immersed herself in the study of alien cultures, her insights often bridging gaps in understanding. Elder Kai, through her quiet wisdom and meditative practices, fostered an unexpected sense of tranquility amidst the often chaotic council sessions. Jian, however, found himself increasingly on edge. The council's ceaseless talk of peace and harmony grated on him. He couldn't shake the feeling that it was all a facade, a fragile veneer over a universe teeming with hidden threats. He spent his days studying galactic history, poring over records of past conflicts and analyzing the military capabilities of various species. He couldn't help but notice the subtle undercurrents of tension, the veiled threats and power plays that masked themselves as diplomatic discourse. His unease grew with each passing day. He observed the Iridani delegate, whose name he learned was Lyra, watching the humans with an unwavering suspicion. Lyra, with her gentle demeanor and soft-spoken words, seemed to embody the council's pacifist ideals. Yet Jian sensed a deep-seated fear in her eyes, a fear that mirrored his own anxieties. One evening, as John was reviewing security footage of a recent council meeting, he noticed something odd. During a heated debate between 2 delegations, a group of humans had clustered together, their faces grim, their hands subtly hovering near concealed weapons. It was a brief moment, easily missed, but to John's trained eye, it spoke volumes. These were not the relaxed postures of peacekeepers. These were warriors on high alert, ready to strike at a moment's notice. He decided to confront Mac about it. "Mac," he began, his voice low, "I need to talk to you about something I saw." Mac, ever nonchalant, leaned back in his chair. "Shoot, Jian, what's on your mind?" "I was reviewing the security footage from the Cathar debate," Jian said, choosing his words carefully. "I noticed something concerning about the other human delegates." Mac's smile faltered for a moment, but he quickly recovered. "Concerning? What do you mean?" "They seemed tense, on edge, like they were expecting trouble." Mac chuckled. "Jian, you're reading too much into it. They were probably just bored. Those Cathar debates can be tedious." Jian wasn't convinced. "Mac, these are trained soldiers. They don't get tense because of a boring debate. They were ready for a fight." Mac's smile vanished completely. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Jian, you need to understand something about humans. We may preach peace, but we are warriors at heart. It's in our blood." Jian stared at Mac, a cold dread creeping down his spine. "What are you saying? That we've been lying this whole time?" Mac sighed, running a hand through his silver hair. "Not lying exactly, more like downplaying. The council knows about our history, of course. They've seen the records, but they choose to believe we've changed. They want to believe it." "And we haven't," John pressed. Mac's eyes hardened. "Jian, we're humans. We fight. It's what we do. It's how we survived. We may have put aside our differences on Earth, but that warrior spirit, it's still there, simmering beneath the surface." Jian felt a strange mix of relief and apprehension. Relief that he wasn't the only one who sensed the undercurrent of violence, and apprehension at what it meant for humanity's future in the Council. "What about the others?" Jian asked. "Are they all in on this?" "Not all of them," Mac admitted. "Anya, she truly believes in peace. Elder Kai, she's something else entirely. I don't think she understands the concept of war as we do. But the rest, the security personnel, the military advisors, they're all veterans. They've seen things, done things, they'll never truly be at peace." Jian thought of the hardened faces he'd seen in the security footage, the subtle movements that betrayed their combat training. He realized that Mac was right. These were not peacekeepers. They were warriors in disguise. "So what do we do?" Jian asked, feeling a weight settle on his shoulders. Mac gave him a wry smile. "We play the game, Jian. We smile, we shake hands, we talk about peace and cooperation, but we also stay vigilant. We keep our eyes open, and we make damn sure that if trouble comes, we're ready for it." Jian nodded slowly. He didn't like it, but he understood. Humanity had come too far to risk it all now. They had to maintain the charade, even if it meant hiding their true nature. But as he left Mac's office, a new thought struck him. What if the Council wasn't as naive as they seemed? What if they knew about humanity's deception all along? And what if they were just waiting for the right moment to expose them? The days that followed were a blur of diplomatic functions and strategic meetings. Jian found himself caught between two worlds: the carefully constructed facade of peaceful cooperation and the underlying reality of a galaxy teetering on the brink of war. He observed the other human delegates, searching for clues, trying to gauge their true intentions. Anya remained oblivious, her focus solely on her research and cultural exchanges. Elder Kai seemed to exist in a realm of her own, her serene presence a stark contrast to the growing tension. But the others, the security personnel, the military advisors, their eyes held a glint of anticipation, a barely suppressed eagerness that Jian found both unsettling and strangely familiar. One evening, Jian found himself alone with Lyra in a quiet corner of the council gardens. The alien delegate, with her silver eyes and flowing white robes, seemed almost ethereal in the soft moonlight. "Ambassador Jian," she began, her voice a gentle chime, "I must confess I have been observing your people closely." Jian tensed, his hand instinctively moving towards the concealed weapon beneath his robes. "Observing us? In what way?" Lyra turned her large, luminous eyes on him. "I sense a dissonance between your words of peace and your aura." Jian felt a chill run down his spine. Had she seen through their charade? "I do not understand," he said, trying to maintain his composure. Lyra tilted her head, her eyes searching his face. "You humans, you carry a weight, a burden. It is a familiar weight to my people, the weight of conflict, of loss, of violence." Jian's heart pounded in his chest. He couldn't deny it. Lyra, despite her pacifist nature, recognized the warrior within him. "We have a saying," Lyra continued, her voice barely a whisper. "Those who have known the abyss cannot easily forget its depths." Jian remained silent, unsure how to respond. "I believe you humans have looked into the abyss," Lyra said softly, "and I fear you have not yet climbed back out." Jian felt a tremor of fear, but he quickly masked it with a practiced neutrality. "Lyra," he said, choosing his words carefully, "you misunderstand. Humanity has a long and complex history, yes, but we have learned from our past. We are committed to peace." Lyra's silver eyes seemed to pierce through him, seeing the turmoil beneath his calm facade. "Perhaps," she said softly, "but the abyss leaves its mark, Ambassador. It lingers in the shadows of the soul." Jian felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He wanted to deny it, to reassure her, but the truth was, Lyra was right. The darkness was there, within him and within his people. It was a part of them, woven into their very being. "I believe you are a good man, Ambassador Jian," Lyra continued, her voice gentle. "But I also believe you are capable of great destruction, as are all your kind." Jian felt a surge of anger, but he quickly suppressed it. He couldn't afford to lose his temper, not now. "We are all capable of both good and evil, Lyra," he said, forcing a calm tone. "It is the choices we make that define us." Lyra nodded slowly. "Indeed, and I pray that your people will choose wisely." Their conversation ended there, but Jian couldn't shake the feeling that Lyra knew more than she let on. He wondered if she had shared her concerns with other council members, if the humans were being watched, their every move scrutinized. The weight of their deception grew heavier with each passing day. Jian felt like a tightrope walker, balancing precariously between two worlds, knowing that one wrong step could send them all tumbling into the abyss. The tension in the council chambers was palpable. Whispers of a new threat, a rising power in the uncharted territories, had sent ripples of unease through the assembled delegates. The Vorians, a race of ruthless conquerors with advanced weaponry and a thirst for domination, had emerged from the galactic fringes, leaving a trail of shattered civilizations in their wake. Jian watched the council members, their faces a mixture of fear and uncertainty. The pacifist factions, led by the Iridani, argued for diplomacy, for appeasement. Others, more pragmatic, called for a united front, a show of force to deter the Vorians. But even the most hawkish delegates seemed hesitant, their bravado tempered by a deep-seated fear of this unknown enemy. The humans, however, remained stoic. Jian, Mac, and the other delegates sat impassive, their faces betraying no emotion. But beneath the surface, a different kind of tension simmered. This was their moment, the moment they had been waiting for. The council president, his blue light flickering with anxiety, called for order. "Delegates," he boomed, his voice echoing through the chamber, "we stand at a crossroads. The Vorians pose a grave threat to the stability of the galaxy. We must decide how to respond." A cacophony of voices erupted, each delegate vying for attention. Jian exchanged a glance with Mac, a silent understanding passing between them. It was time. Mac rose from his seat, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Honored delegates," he began, his tone measured and calm. "We have listened to your concerns, we have heard your fears, and we understand your hesitation." He paused, letting his words sink in. The chamber fell silent, every eye fixed on him. "But we, the humans," Mac continued, his voice rising in intensity, "we do not fear the Vorians. We do not cower in the face of aggression. We are warriors. We are survivors, and we will not stand idly by while this galaxy falls to tyranny." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. The humans, the supposedly peaceful newcomers, had just declared their willingness to fight. A stunned silence followed Mac's declaration. Then, a wave of murmurs and exclamations swept through the chamber, 1,000 voices rising in a crescendo of disbelief and apprehension. The Iridani delegates, their faces pale with shock, huddled together, their silver eyes wide with fear. The more bellicose species, though surprised, seemed to stir with a grudging admiration. Mac pressed on, his voice ringing with conviction. "We do not seek war, but we will not shy away from it. We will defend this galaxy, and we will protect those who cannot protect themselves." He gestured towards the human delegation, where Jian stood alongside the others, his expression carefully neutral. "We have brought with us our finest warriors, our most skilled strategists, and our most advanced weaponry. We are ready to stand with you, to fight alongside you, to drive back the Vorian menace." A hush fell over the chamber as Mac revealed the true extent of humanity's military might. Holographic projections shimmered to life, showcasing sleek warships bristling with weaponry, battalions of soldiers clad in advanced combat gear, and tactical displays that outstripped anything the Council had ever seen. The delegates stared in awe and apprehension. This was not the peaceful, cooperative species they had come to know. This was something else entirely. This was a force to be reckoned with. The Council President, his blue light pulsating rapidly, rose from his dais. "Humans," he addressed them, his voice filled with a newfound respect, "your candor is unexpected, but we appreciate your willingness to defend the galaxy." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the assembled delegates. "The Council will convene in closed session to discuss this matter further. We will inform you of our decision shortly." As the delegates filed out of the chamber, Gian felt a surge of adrenaline. The game was on. Humanity had revealed its true colors, and the galaxy would never be the same. The council chambers, usually a hub of intergalactic chatter, were eerily silent. The weight of the human revelation hung heavy in the air, a stark contrast to the vibrant tapestry of alien life that filled the tiered seats. Gian sat amongst his fellow delegates, his senses heightened, alert to every subtle shift in the atmosphere. He could feel the eyes of the council upon them, a mixture of awe, fear, and a grudging respect. The president, his blue light pulsing with an intensity that betrayed his normally calm demeanor, addressed the chamber. "The human delegation has presented us with a unique proposition. They offer their military might, their expertise in warfare, to aid in our defense against the Vorian threat." A ripple of murmurs coursed through the assembly. The Iridani delegates, their silver eyes wide with apprehension, huddled together, whispering amongst themselves. The Cathar, a race of stoic warriors, leaned forward, their chitinous exoskeletons creaking with anticipation. "This council," the president continued, his voice resonating with a gravitas that commanded attention, "has always prided itself on its commitment to peace, to diplomacy. But we cannot ignore the reality before us. The Vorians are a force unlike any we have encountered. They do not respond to reason. They do not respect treaties. They understand only one language, the language of force." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the chamber. The humans, it seems, are fluent in that language. A wave of unease washed over Gian. He knew that the council was desperate, that they were grasping at straws. But he also knew that humanity's offer was not entirely altruistic. They had their own reasons for wanting to fight, their own scores to settle. The president continued, "After much deliberation, the council has reached a decision. We will accept the humans' offer of assistance. But," he added, his voice firm, "they will operate under our authority. Their actions will be subject to our oversight." Gian felt a surge of both relief and frustration. Relief that they had been given the green light, frustration at the constraints placed upon them. He knew that the council's oversight would be a constant thorn in their side, a hindrance to their true objectives. But for now, they had what they wanted. They had been unleashed. The human war machine, long hidden in the shadows, sprang to life with terrifying efficiency. Fleets of warships cloaked in advanced stealth technology slipped through the porous Vorian defenses, striking at strategic targets with surgical precision. Battalions of genetically enhanced soldiers, trained from birth in the art of warfare, deployed across contested planets, their combat prowess a stark contrast to the more conventional tactics of the other council races. Gian, now leading a strike team deep within Vorian territory, felt a grim satisfaction as he watched the enemy crumble before them. The Vorians, used to overwhelming their foes with brute force and superior numbers, were ill-prepared for the humans' lightning-fast strikes and unpredictable maneuvers. Gian, a master of unconventional warfare, relished the challenge, using the Vorians' arrogance and rigid tactics against them. But even as he orchestrated victory after victory, a deep unease gnawed at him. He had seen the cost of war firsthand, the shattered lives and ravaged worlds left in its wake. He knew that even the most justified conflict exacted a terrible price. One evening, after a particularly brutal engagement, Gian found himself alone in his quarters, the echoes of battle still ringing in his ears. He activated his personal comm link, requesting a secure channel to Earth. The face of his daughter Maya flickered to life on the screen, her smile a beacon of warmth in the cold darkness of space. "Hi, Dad," she chirped, her voice filled with youthful energy. "How are things out there?" Jian forced a smile, pushing down the memories of the day's carnage. "It's busy, Maya, but we're doing good work." "Are you fighting those bad aliens?" she asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Jian hesitated. How could he explain the horrors of war to his innocent daughter? "We're helping to keep the peace, Maya. That's what soldiers do." "That's cool," she exclaimed. "You're like a superhero, Dad." Jian's heart ached. He was no hero. He was a soldier, a warrior, a destroyer, and he was starting to wonder if the peace he was fighting for was worth the cost. The war raged on, a brutal ballet of destruction and defiance across the vast canvas of the galaxy. Human forces, spearheaded by Jian's relentless strike team, continued to disrupt the Vorian advance, their unconventional tactics and ruthless efficiency leaving the enemy reeling. But the cost was high. Casualties mounted on both sides, and the toll on the human soldiers was becoming evident. Jian, despite his outward stoicism, felt the weight of each loss, each life extinguished in the fires of war. He saw the haunted looks in the eyes of his comrades, the grim determination etched on their faces. They were warriors, yes, but they were also human. They carried the burden of their actions, the scars of battles fought and lives lost. One day, amidst the chaos of a fierce firefight, Jian's comlink crackled to life. It was Lyra, her voice strained but resolute. "Ambassador Jian," she said, her words punctuated by the distant roar of explosions, "we need your help. The Vorians have launched a surprise attack on Iridani Prime. Our defenses are failing." Jian's heart sank. The Iridani, the pacifists, the ones who had most vehemently opposed the war, were now facing the brunt of the Vorians' fury. He knew he had to act, not just as a soldier, but as a human. "We're on our way," he replied, his voice grim. He rallied his team, their faces hardening with resolve. They boarded their dropships, leaving the relative safety of their hidden base and plunging into the heart of the enemy assault. As they descended upon Iridani Prime, a world of serene beauty now marred by fire and destruction, Jian felt a surge of anger. The Vorians would pay for this. They would pay for every life they had taken, every world they had shattered. The battle for Iridani Prime was a maelstrom of fire and fury. Vorian warships, sleek and predatory, swarmed the skies, raining down plasma fire on the peaceful planet. Iridani defenders, their technology geared towards peaceful pursuits, struggled to repel the onslaught. Their graceful, crystalline cities shattered under the relentless bombardment, their shimmering towers reduced to rubble. Jian's team, augmented by a contingent of Cathar warriors eager to prove their mettle, plunged into the fray. Their dropships weaved through the enemy fire, deploying squads of soldiers onto key strategic points. Jian, armed with his signature plasma blade and a tactical mind honed by years of conflict, led the charge, his movements a blur of deadly efficiency. He carved through the Vorian ranks, his blade a whisper of death, leaving a trail of dismembered bodies in his wake. The Cathar, their chitinous exoskeletons impervious to most Vorian weaponry, formed a formidable vanguard, their heavy cannons tearing through enemy lines. But the Vorians were relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. They pressed their attack, wave after wave, determined to break the defenders' resolve. Jian, sensing the tide turning against them, ordered a tactical retreat, regrouping his forces within the ruins of a shattered Iridani temple. As they took cover amidst the fallen statues and shattered mosaics, Lyra appeared, her silver eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "Ambassador Jian," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "thank you for coming to our aid, but I fear it is too late. We cannot hold them off much longer." Jian, his face grim, placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We will not abandon you, Lyra. We will fight to the last breath." He looked at his weary soldiers, their faces streaked with sweat and grime, their eyes burning with a fierce resolve. He knew they were outnumbered, outgunned, but he also knew they were humans, and humans never gave up without a fight. Jian, drawing on his years of combat experience, devised a daring plan. They would use the Vorians' own aggression against them, luring them into a trap within the labyrinthine corridors of the temple. He divided his forces into small, highly mobile squads, each tasked with harassing the enemy and drawing them deeper into the complex. The Cathar, with their heavy weaponry and imposing presence, formed the anvil, holding a strategic choke point within the temple. Jian and his human soldiers, armed with lighter, more agile weapons, would act as the hammer, striking from unexpected angles, disrupting the Vorian formations and driving them towards the Cathar's waiting guns. The battle raged within the temple's hallowed halls, the ancient statues and intricate carvings bearing witness to the clash of civilizations. The Vorians, confident in their superior firepower, pressed their attack, their heavy blasters echoing through the corridors, but they soon found themselves disoriented, their formations broken by the humans' hit-and-run tactics. Jian, a shadow flitting through the shadows, led his team in a series of devastating ambushes. They struck from hidden alcoves, from crumbling balconies, from the very heart of the enemy ranks, their plasma blades and energy rifles reaping a bloody toll. The Cathar, their heavy cannons booming like thunder, held their ground, their disciplined fire decimating the confused and disoriented Vorians. The tide of the battle began to turn. The Vorians, their advance stalled, their ranks thinning, started to falter. Jian, sensing their weakness, pressed the attack. He led his team in a final, desperate charge, driving the Vorians back through the temple, their screams of rage and fear echoing through the ancient stones. As the last Vorian fell, the temple fell silent. The air was thick with the stench of burnt flesh and ozone, the floor littered with the bodies of the fallen. Jian, his uniform stained with blood and grime, surveyed the scene, a grim satisfaction mixed with a profound sadness. They had won, but at a cost. The victory on Iridani Prime was a turning point in the war. The Vorians, their aura of invincibility shattered, began to falter. Human forces, bolstered by the growing respect and trust of other council races, pressed their advantage, pushing back the Vorian advance on multiple fronts. Jian, his reputation as a brilliant strategist growing with each victory, found himself thrust into the role of a reluctant hero. He was hailed by the council as a savior, a champion of the galaxy, but the accolades rang hollow in his ears. He had seen too much death, too much destruction. The weight of his actions, the lives lost under his command, pressed heavily on his soul. He sought solace in his conversations with Lyra. The Iridani delegate, her initial fear of humans replaced by a grudging admiration, had become an unexpected confidant. They spent hours discussing the complexities of war and peace, the delicate balance between strength and compassion. "You humans," Lyra said one evening, as they strolled through the restored gardens of Iridani Prime, "you are a paradox. You are capable of great violence, yet you also possess a deep capacity for empathy. You are warriors, but you are also healers." Jan nodded, contemplating her words. "We are a flawed species, Lyra. We have made many mistakes, but we are also capable of learning, of growing." "I believe that," Lyra said, her silver eyes shining with sincerity. "And I believe that you, Ambassador Jian, are a testament to that capacity for growth." Jian felt a warmth spread through him, a flicker of hope amidst the darkness. Perhaps Lyra was right. Perhaps humanity, despite its flaws, could find a place in this galaxy, a place where their strength could be used for good, where their warrior spirit could be tempered with wisdom and compassion. But as he looked out at the stars, a nagging doubt lingered in his mind. The Vorians were not the only threat in the galaxy. There were other forces at play, other shadows lurking in the darkness, and humanity, with its newfound power and reputation, was now a target. The whispers started subtly, like the rustle of unseen wings in the corridors of the council chambers. Jian caught snippets of conversations, hushed tones, and furtive glances directed at the human delegation. The initial awe and gratitude that followed the victory on Iridani Prime were slowly giving way to something else, a more cautious, almost wary sentiment. He confided his concerns to Mac during one of their late-night strategy sessions. "Something's shifting," Jian said, his voice low. "I can feel it. They're not as comfortable with us anymore." Mac, ever the astute observer of political currents, nodded in agreement. "It's inevitable, Jian. We've shown them what we're capable of, and now they're afraid." "Afraid of what?" Jian asked, though he already knew the answer. "Afraid of our power," Max said, his voice grim. "Afraid that we'll turn on them, that we'll become the very thing we're fighting against." Jian felt a chill run down his spine. He had seen the darkness in the hearts of his fellow humans, the thirst for battle that lurked beneath their civilized veneer. He knew that Mac was right. The Council, despite their gratitude, was now wary of the weapon they had unleashed. "What do we do?" Jian asked, feeling a sense of helplessness. Mac shrugged. "We play the game, Jian. We reassure them, we downplay our strengths, we emphasize our commitment to peace, but we also stay vigilant. We prepare for the worst." Jian nodded, a grim determination settling over him. He knew that the road ahead would be fraught with peril. They had won a battle, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy was far from over. And this time, the enemy might not be an external threat, but the very allies they had fought to protect. The war with the Vorians dragged on, a grinding conflict that consumed resources and strained alliances. Jian, weary of the endless bloodshed, found himself increasingly drawn to Lyra and the Iridani philosophy of peaceful resolution. He began to question the human approach, the relentless pursuit of victory at any cost. One evening, while sharing a rare moment of respite with Lyra amidst the tranquil gardens of a rebuilt Iridani city, Jian voiced his doubts. "Lyra," he began, his voice heavy with the burden of command, "I'm starting to wonder if we're doing the right thing. This war, it's consuming us. We're becoming the very thing we're fighting against." Lyra, her silver eyes reflecting the soft glow of the bioluminescent flora, nodded in understanding. "The path of the warrior is a difficult one, Jian. It is easy to lose sight of one's purpose amidst the chaos of battle." "I fear we are losing ourselves," Jian confessed. "We are becoming addicted to the fight, to the thrill of victory. We have forgotten the value of peace." Lyra reached out, her delicate hand resting on Jian's arm. "You are not lost, Jian. You are merely searching for a balance between the warrior and the peacemaker within you." Jian looked at her, his heart filled with a newfound hope. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps he could find a way to reconcile his warrior spirit with his yearning for peace. Perhaps humanity as a whole could learn to wield its power with wisdom and restraint. But as he gazed at the stars, a sense of foreboding crept over him. He knew that the galaxy was a dangerous place, that there would always be those who sought to exploit and dominate, and humanity, with its newfound power and reputation, would always be a target. Jian's fears were not unfounded. The Council, while publicly praising the humans' martial prowess, was privately grappling with the implications of their power. The Iridani, despite their newfound respect for Jian, remained deeply apprehensive about the human capacity for violence. Other races, envious of the humans' military strength, began to whisper of potential threats, of the need to curb their influence before they grew too powerful. These anxieties reached a head during a closed-door council session. Jian, summoned to address the assembly, found himself facing a panel of grim-faced delegates. The president, his blue light flickering with a nervous energy, addressed him directly. "Ambassador Jian," he began, his voice laced with a thinly veiled tension, "the Council has been deliberating on the evolving role of humanity within the galactic community." Jian, sensing the shift in tone, stood his ground, his expression carefully neutral. "We are eager to continue serving the Council, President. Our commitment to the defense of the galaxy remains unwavering." A Cathar delegate, his chitinous mandibles clicking with agitation, interjected. "Your commitment, Ambassador, is not in question. It is your capacity that concerns us." Jian raised an eyebrow. "Capacity, I do not understand." An Iridani delegate, her silver eyes filled with a deep apprehension, spoke softly. "Your people, Ambassador, are formidable. Your warriors are unmatched, your weapons unmatched. We fear that such power could be turned against us." Jian felt a surge of anger, but he quickly suppressed it. He knew that this was not a personal attack, but a reflection of the deep-seated fear that humanity had instilled in the hearts of the Council. "We have proven our loyalty on the battlefield," he said, his voice firm. "We have shed our blood alongside yours in defense of this galaxy. Do you doubt our word now?" The president intervened, his blue light pulsing with a calming rhythm. "Ambassador, we do not doubt your sincerity, but we must also consider the long-term implications of your presence." Jian's heart sank. He knew what was coming. The president, his blue light dimming slightly, delivered the Council's verdict. "Ambassador Jian," he announced, his voice heavy with regret, "we have reached a decision. In the interest of galactic stability, we must limit humanity's military presence within the Council. Jian felt a surge of anger, but he maintained his composure. Limit? In what way? We propose a disarmament initiative, the president continued. A gradual reduction of your forces and a transfer of certain technologies to Council oversight. Jian's fists clenched. This was a thinly veiled attempt to neuter humanity, to strip them of their hard-earned power. He wanted to lash out, to denounce the Council's ingratitude, but he knew that would only play into their fears. This is unacceptable, he said, his voice controlled but firm. We have fought and bled for this galaxy. We have proven our loyalty time and again, and now you would reward us by stripping us of our defenses? The Kethar delegate clicked his mandibles in agitation. It is not a matter of reward or punishment, Ambassador. It is a matter of balance. Your power disrupts that balance. Jian turned to the Iridani delegate, his eyes pleading for understanding. Lyra, you know us. You know we mean no harm. Will you stand by and watch as they disarm us? Lyra, her silver eyes filled with a deep sadness, averted her gaze. I cannot condone violence, Jian, but I also cannot deny the concerns of the Council. Jian felt a wave of despair wash over him. He had hoped that Lyra, at least, would understand, but even she had succumbed to the fear that had gripped the Council. He straightened his shoulders, a defiant spark igniting in his eyes. Very well, he said, his voice ringing with a newfound resolve. We will not be disarmed. We will not be controlled. If the Council wishes to sever ties with humanity, then so be it, but we will not surrender our right to defend ourselves. With that, he turned and strode out of the chamber, leaving behind a stunned silence. Jian's defiant stand sent shockwaves through the Council. The humans, once hailed as saviors, were now viewed with a mixture of fear and resentment. The Iridani, torn between their pacifist ideals and their growing apprehension, remained silent, their neutrality a tacit endorsement of the Council's decision. Mac, ever the pragmatist, urged caution. Jian, he said, his voice low, we need to tread carefully. We can't afford to alienate the Council entirely. We need their support, at least for now. Jian, his anger still simmering, paced the confines of the human delegation's quarters. They want to disarm us, Mac. They want to cripple us. After all we've done for them, this is how they repay us? They're afraid, Jian, Mac said, his voice calm. They don't understand us. They see our strength, our eagerness for battle, and they fear it. So we should just roll over and let them dictate our fate? Jian retorted. Mac sighed. No, of course not, but we need to be smart about this. We need to find a way to reassure them, to show them that we're not a threat. Jian stopped pacing, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. What if we offer a compromise? He suggested. We agree to limit our military expansion, but we retain control of our existing forces and technology. We prove to them that we can be trusted with our power. Mac considered this for a moment. It's a risky move, Jian, but it might be our only option. Jian nodded. I know, but we have to try. We can't let them turn us into a disarmed, vulnerable species. We've come too far for that. He contacted the Council President, requesting an urgent meeting. He knew that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The Council chambers, once again filled with the cacophony of 1,000 alien voices, buzzed with anticipation. Jian, standing before the assembled delegates, felt the weight of their gazes upon him, a mixture of curiosity, apprehension, and a lingering resentment. He addressed the Council with a measured calm, his voice resonating through the chamber. Honored delegates, he began, I understand your concerns. I understand your fear. But I assure you, humanity seeks only to be a contributing member of this galactic community. He paused, letting his words sink in. We have proven our loyalty on the battlefield. We have shed our blood alongside yours in defense of this galaxy. We have demonstrated our capacity for both strength and compassion. He continued, his voice rising with conviction. We do not seek to dominate. We do not seek to control. We seek only to coexist, to share our knowledge and our resources to contribute to the betterment of this galaxy. He then outlined his compromise, a carefully crafted proposal that balanced humanity's need for self-defense with the Council's desire for stability. He proposed a freeze on military expansion, a transparency initiative regarding their technology, and a commitment to peaceful resolutions wherever possible. A hush fell over the chamber as the delegates absorbed his words. The Iridani, their silver eyes filled with a cautious hope, leaned forward, listening intently. The Cathar, their chitinous exoskeletons creaking with anticipation, remained stoic, their expressions unreadable. The president, his blue light pulsing with a thoughtful rhythm, addressed Gian. "Ambassador, your words give us pause. Your proposal warrants consideration." He turned to the assembled delegates. "The council will convene in closed session to deliberate on this matter. We will inform you of our decision shortly." Gian bowed his head in acknowledgement, his heart pounding with a mixture of hope and trepidation. He had done all he could. The fate of humanity now rested in the hands of the council. The council's deliberations stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Gian, waiting with his fellow delegates, paced the antechamber, his anxiety growing with each passing moment. He knew that this was a pivotal moment in human history, a defining chapter in their relationship with the galaxy. Finally, the doors to the council chambers swung open, and the president emerged, his blue light pulsing with a solemn gravity. He beckoned Gian forward, and the human ambassador stepped into the chamber, his heart pounding in his chest. The delegates, their faces a mixture of curiosity and apprehension, watched as Gian approached the president's dais. The air crackled with tension, the silence broken only by the soft hum of the translator implants. The president addressed Gian, his voice resonating through the chamber. "Ambassador Gian," he began, "we have deliberated on your proposal. We have weighed the risks and the benefits, and we have reached a decision." Gian held his breath, his gaze fixed on the president's pulsating light. "We accept your compromise," the president announced, his voice carrying a note of cautious optimism. "We believe that humanity, despite its unique nature, can be a valuable asset to the galactic community." A wave of relief washed over Gian, his tense muscles relaxing. He had done it. He had secured humanity's place in the galaxy, not through force of arms, but through diplomacy and compromise. The president continued, "We understand that your warrior spirit is an integral part of your identity, but we also believe that you are capable of wielding that spirit with wisdom and restraint." He extended a hand towards Gian, his blue light radiating warmth. "Let us forge a new path together, Ambassador. A path of cooperation, of mutual respect, of shared responsibility for the future of this galaxy." Gian, his heart filled with a newfound hope, stepped forward and grasped the president's hand. In that moment, a new chapter began, a chapter in which humanity would take its rightful place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as partners, as guardians, as a force for good in a galaxy teetering on the brink of chaos.